Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake on YouTube, and what we're going to make is cookies. Somebody recently wrote to me and said, would I do a cookie recipe where it doesn't need eggs? And I do have, I think, a couple of sugar cookies. I can't think of the other one with no eggs and oatmeal on my channel. But these are chocolate chip with no eggs. So if you're looking for a recipe, as I mentioned, what doesn't contain eggs, for whatever reason, if a person doesn't like eggs or they're allergic to eggs or they can't have it in their diet, this is a very quick and very easy chocolate chip recipe, again, with no eggs. Now, I also want to warn you off ahead of time that I no longer put the recipe below the video. And I'm sorry about that, but if you want to jot notes down or whatever, hopefully I'll go through clearly enough and slowly enough that you can get all the ingredients as I mix them during the video. So let's get started. First, we're going to start off with 3/4 cup of butter. I cut mine into small pieces because I think it's quicker to cream it and to move the video along. So we're going to put that into my mixing bowl. Now, you can do this recipe with a hand mixer, certainly. So if you prefer that, or that you don't have a stand-up mixer, please feel free and go ahead. Now, I'm going to break up the butter. Also, I want to give you a heads up that when I go to use the mixer, the sound might be loud for you, so I want to give you a heads up on that. Okay, make sure that you do break up and you cream your butter, and that might take you a minute, might take you two. It really depends on the speed of your hand mixer that you place it on or your stand-up. You're also going to be putting in 1/4 of a cup, 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and cream that sugar and that butter together. Now, of course, I'm doing a lot faster than I normally would. And I'm at a higher speed, but again, I want to move this along for you. Now, you're going to need also 1/2 cup of sweetened condensed milk. Now, it isn't the evaporated milk that we use. I always get that question, so it's good to go over it, that you use when you make pumpkin pies and that kind of thing. This is a sweetened condensed milk, and that's 1/2 cup. And I'm going to put that in this, and we're going to bring it all together, combine it, and get that mixed. So, and then just beat it till it's very smooth. And I'm warning you about the sound. Okay, now I'm just going to get to the sides of my bowl and the bottom, because it tends to stick down there and doesn't get blended. Now, spend time creaming this. Again, it might take you 2 minutes, it might take you 3 minutes, who knows, but you do want to combine it. Now I'm going to raise my speed to get that blended quickly. We're also going to be putting in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, now once you get that all blended, alrighty. Alright, and it's smooth and creamy. Let's work on the dry. You're going to need 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We're also going to be putting in 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon to that flour. You're also going to be putting in a half a teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to give it a quick stir here. And then I'm going to add this to the wet slowly so it doesn't go all over my kitchen. And just stay with that till it comes out, it starts forming a cookie dough for you, okay? I'm going to turn it on again. All right. Next, of course, we're going to need chocolate chips. Now you can use dark chocolate, semi-sweet, milk chocolate, butterscotch. I mean, you can put whatever type of morsel that you want, okay? But you'll need 1 cup. Now, you can fold this in by hand if you prefer. I like to use my mixer. A lot of people, I know you're worried about it breaking them up, but they really don't. If you blend them not too long and not too high, they really won't lose their integrity. I like to put them in and blend them with a beater because I think it's more thorough than me doing it by hand. But you can certainly just take your bowl off and fold those morsels in. Okay, so I'm going to take my paddle out here, push that aside, and then I'm just going to quickly take the excess off my paddle, and I like to get as much as I can off of it because, we know how expensive it is to buy baking products, ingredients. I just don't want to waste any of it, And if you're going to be baking yourself and taking the time and the effort, well, you want to, use everything and get the most of it. Now I'm just going to clean up the bowl at the sides and check that bottom. And then I'd like to show you what the cookie dough looks like, okay? And it will look like this. It will be a sticky type of mixture, okay? All right. And I'm just going to put a little rinse on my hands here. Okay. Now, of course, you're going to need a cookie sheet or a cookie pan. I tend, for this recipe, to use parchment paper, but if you prefer not, you can use your mats, your Teflon mats, or whatever type of baking mat that you like. Okay, if you're going to use nothing at all, you can use a little bit of a light spray if you want. And what I also do is that I keep a little bit of water on the side. Now, you can make these cookies in 1-inch round ball, which is about, well, you know how big a large ball, it's a smaller than, say, a golf ball. Or you can use a cookie scoop. I'm using a cookie scoop, and I measured it. This one is 1.5 inches across, okay? And so what I like to do is, instead of rolling them in my hands in the 1 ounce, okay, I just feel that you'll have a dome shape enough on the top. Now you're going to place these about 1.5 inches apart because they are going to spread out, okay? Now also, these cookies will not give you a real high rise, and maybe that's probably due to not having eggs in the ingredients. So this is where it comes in, where I keep that water. And what I do is I just moisten my fingertips, 2 of my fingers, and then I just lightly press them down so they're not so quite rounded. I don't flatten them completely. I just give them a little gentle push to flatten them, okay? Because you want the cookie to have a little bit of height. It won't have a high height to them, but you want them evenly cooked and baked. So just lightly push them down. And again, about 1.5 inches apart, okay? Now you're going to bake these cookies at 350 degrees, and they can take you anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. So start watching them. I do anyway, after about 7 minutes or so, because you don't want to overbake them so that they become too dry or too stiff that you might not like them. Because you want them to be crisp on maybe the top and the bottom, but you want a chewy center on this cookie, especially because it doesn't have an egg in it. Now what I also would suggest is once they come out of the oven, let them sit on the tray or the pan for just a minute or two, enough that they're stable enough that you can lift them and then put them on your cooling rack, okay? Otherwise they will break up for you. Now I'd like to just wash my hands quickly because I'm working with dough here, and show you the finished product of what they look like once they bake up. Now you're going to get about 36 cookies out of this recipe if you make them the size that I mentioned just moments ago. Of course, if you want to make them larger, you're going to get less. But if you do make them larger, you're going to have to, I'm sure you know, adjust your baking time. Or if you make them smaller, you're going to have to adjust your baking time. So whatever that you decide to do, I'm sure will be just great. So this is how they come out. As you see, they don't come real tall or real, high, as I mentioned. They have a little bit of a dome. They are, crispy to the top. In other words, they're not real mushy or soft. And the bottom as well. It has a firm bottom to them, okay? They will have a bake up about anywhere from a light golden to a medium brown. Really depend on how long you bake them in your oven. And then when you break into them, that's where you start to see that they're chewy and that they're moist. Now again, this particular cookie tastes best when it still has a bit of a chew to it. I've made them and baked them longer just to experiment to see if I might like them more crispy. But they just tend to they were a little bit too dried out. So you want it so, and I don't know if you can see, but I'm pushing on that cookie to show you that it is moist. It's chewy. So it's got a nice chewy center when you bite into it. It's a great tasting cookie, even though there's no eggs involved. Now, again, I just want to briefly tell you, because some people say, well, gee, you used to always put your recipes below your video. I'm sorry, I don't do that anymore. I'm not alone on this, that's for sure. But it just wasn't worth it anymore to do it. And what started it was that this is when I always tell you folks, gee, if you try this recipe and you like it, leave a comment because I'd like to hear from you. And I started seeing my work posted and pinned and being claimed as other people's property. And what was frustrating is that you wrote your question or your comment and I couldn't write you back. So please know that all my videos I put on only put them on YouTube. So if you watch me on YouTube and you write me a question, I will do my very best in a timely fashion to answer, and I will get back with you. So please remember that I'm only on YouTube. That's the only place. If my videos are being played somewhere else, it's not by my design, okay? So I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake on YouTube. If you're so inclined and you'd like to subscribe, well, I can't thank you enough how much I appreciate that. Or ring the bell. So I want to thank you again for watching. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.